Hello everyone. I am making a new video today. I'm going to try to be doing a new kind of thing where I talk about things. I want to do what I want to call a Let's Talk About series. And we're going to have a few of them. Today, I want to talk about economics. So this is our Let's Talk About Economics, namely for someone entering the workplace and what they would need to know in terms of how they want to vote and what all the liberals versus conservatives might be arguing about whenever it comes to the wealth within our country. One thing I would like to point out is that my viewpoint is very biased. I'll show you real quick. I literally have a tab. These are all my talking points, right? You can see them at the top of the screen. And basically, we're going to go through all of these. And I want to show why many of the younger folks are angry. For one, you look at the average minimum wage. In the US, it is $7.25 an hour. Now, if we were to open up a calculator, and you get, what was it? Let's see, $7.25, right? So 7.25 per hour. You multiply that by about 40 hours a week, right? And that equals $290 a week. You multiply that by 52 weeks in a year, and you're getting about 15 grand a year for a job at minimum wage. Now, it's much more easy to view these kinds of things on a monthly basis. We divide it by 12. That means you're getting about $1,200 a month. One thing to take into account is this does not account for taxes. If we were to account for taxes, we could assume that we would probably keep about, I don't know, let's say 80% of the income. So 0.8, right? Which means you're realistically probably taking home about $1,000. Here's why this is bad, right? We go right on over to a studio apartment, generally the smallest apartments you can get in the US, and the rent per month is $1,700, which means that you cannot operate at this as a living expense. It is literally impossible. Now, to McDonald's credit and to Amazon's credit and a few other places, they do operate above minimum wage. The general consensus seems to be about $14 an hour. Let's be generous and say $14.50 because Amazon does pay $15 an hour. Right? So we say $14.50. Okay. Let's multiply that by 40. Right? Do the same multiplications before. $580 a week. That's much more. Right? We multiply this by 52 weeks in a year. You divide it by 12. You get $2,500. Now, keep in mind that rent is supposed to be anywhere from a third to 2/3 of your income. Again, that is much higher. You take 2,500 and let's do 2,500, right? And then you take this is 17. So we're gonna go over. Maybe we can put it right here. No, we can't. All right, we're gonna just delete it. 1,700 divided by 2,500. And that's 68% of your income before taxes. Now, let's assume that taxes are 80%, right? So $2,500 a month. And then you multiply that by 0.8. And you're getting about $2,000 a month. This is not livable. You this. For a studio apartment, you cannot pay for rent and pay for a car and pay for insurance and pay for food with only $300. This is absolutely unacceptable. You look at productivity versus wages, right? From 1979 to 2020, the net productivity rose 61%, while the pay grew far slower at only 17.5% over 4 decades after adjusting for inflation. The economic situation in the US is not fun at all. You look at our inflation rates, right? Back in 1950, it was fucking roughly hovering around the almost 3%, right? It goes up and down, goes up and down. It drops real heavy at around 2008. This is the economic recession that hit, I assume. And then it kind of rises right back. This is us fucking bailing out the banks, right? And then things start spiking right after 2015. We're seeing kind of a big tech boom, and then they drop a bit. 2018 was whenever, I want to say, I think it was 2018. No, that wasn't really a Trump year. That would have been 2016. So 2016, Trump, all the way up to like what, 2020? Yeah, and then we got Biden. And then COVID-19 happened, right? COVID-19 into 2020, boom. Absolute insane inflation rates at 8%. And here's the scary thing, right? Because there's also another thing. If inflation, say that was one of these graphs, right? If it was going up and then the pay rate was going up at the same rates, inflation wouldn't be a problem, right? If I gotta pay, if McDonald's no longer has $1 menu but is a $2 menu, but I'm also getting double the wage, then inflation doesn't matter. It's not a problem. The entire reason why this graph was hovering around 2% and all these green bits for so long is because with inflation, you can make it so that the inflation rate is higher than the rate of that in your savings accounts. The reason for that is because you want to incentivize spending. If you're saving money, then you're not spending that money, and then the economy isn't growing from the money that you could be spending. And so the government makes it so the inflation rate is a bit higher than most bonds or whatever you would be using, so that you're actually losing money, so you're more likely to buy something, whether that's a yacht, a condominium, a car, or just buying more lavish things in life, cotton clothes instead of the more nylon, other such things. That's the whole point. Then another thing to look at is national debt. Now, national debt in 2013, 10 years ago, was at 17 trillion, just about. Increased by over a trillion 2014, but that's not the focus. Go 5 years later, in 2018, we had 21 and a half. So that was an increase of about 4 or so trillion. Then we go from 2018 to 2023, well, 2022. But I tried to look this up to start with this. I started with this one, but we got 2023, 33.17. In the last 5 years, our national debt has increased tremendously. Now, here's a fun little thing. Some people I've been noticing on the internet have been wondering, where does all of the national come from? Oh, there we go. And national debt explain money from blah 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 blah. All right, so borrows money from selling marketable securities. There we go. Treasury bonds. I was looking for. I was thinking of war bonds. That's why I typed war in here at first. No, they sell treasury bonds, bills, notes, basically government-backed bonds. Sometimes war bonds in the event. Sorry about that. In the event of a war, World War II. That's what helped get us out of the Great Depression. And so basically, the U.S. will sell treasury bonds to companies. These treasury bonds will grant 3 or so percent return in the name of, right, it was over here. In the name of you letting the government have that money for a while. And if you try to do it early, then you don't get the inflation back, and the government basically gets it, doesn't have to pay the interest. And so the idea is all of our national debt, from the 17 trillion to 21.5 trillion to 2 trillion, it's all basically owed towards companies who will buy that debt from the government. The problem is that there has to be a buyer. And this is where this gets scary. Because our treasury bonds like to generally hover, if I remember correctly, about 2.5%. Let's look it up. Average. Oh, I accidentally pressed caps lock. I'm really bad with this keyboard. Please forgive me. No, interest. That works better. Average treasury bond interest rate. So, okay. So I was wrong. It hovers at around 4. That's how it is currently. Okay. Is that all right? And this is lower than the long-term average of 4.25%. All right. So yeah. So the maturity is what they call the duration. If you cash out before the maturity, you don't get this nice little guy, right? Oh no. And so over 10 years, you're going to get a maturity rate of 4%. And generally, if we're talking over here, that's pretty good. Like, unless you're at like 2008, and even at 2008, you're not losing your money. That's a good way to save money into the US. And basically what this means is that the US wants you to spend your money through here. They're fine with you saving your money right here, because this increases the US's budget whenever it comes to budgeting expenses. Say Trump wants to build a wall, Congress is angry at him, they don't give him the right amount of budget. Well, the Treasury, to make up for that budget, right? The US Federal Bank, basically just the reserve will create more Treasury bonds to sell, promising that good old 4% more or less. And I'm pretty sure, considering we're getting a whole bunch of different responses, I'm pretty sure it was less back in the day, but this just gives you a general realization. This is bad. This means you're losing money. And the US Treasury bond that's always used to give you back your money is now not. And that's really, 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 really bad. Because if no one buys these, then we can't increase in debt. Which means this guy spikes more. And we can't use the treasury bonds to help fight against that. And so we want this to go down. You look at 2021 versus 2022. It did go down. You look at right here, the little green bars are by how much the inflation rate has changed. It's still going up. The inflation rate's at fucking 8%, but the rate at which it's been increasing is lower. And in 2023, it's also lower, but we're fucking encroaching on I think we're over 10% right now, which is insane. But basically, no one's going to buy the treasury bonds because they're not going to make their money back. Right? And if they're not going to make their money back, they're not going to buy the treasury bonds, which means that we don't have any allocation in the budget. If we don't have any allocation in the budget, then we have to make an allocation in the budget, and we can't use these. Oh, crap. We can't use these guys at all, which means we start printing more money. And this is how you get an economic collapse. This is why everyone's been saying that we're going to get an economic recession in Q2 of 2024. This is the reasoning. Basically, people say that we're already in a recession, people have it bad and all this other stuff. Yes, people most certainly have it bad. But we're talking about the economy as a whole and the entirety of it. This is the entirety of the United States inflation rate, right? This is just going to start spiking, and it's going to be quite ridiculous. And so this debt, obviously, we're letting it grow and grow and grow, and then people are just going to stop buying. And here's the funny part, because this pays back into this, into this. We're seeing prices increase where they don't need to increase. Price increases are reportedly exceeding inflation rates. A little bit of an example of this is in 2022, CEOs were paid 344 times as much as a typical worker. So we're talking a little bit above entry level, right? And as in contrast, in 1965, whenever CEOs were paid 21 times as much as a typical worker. That means that you look at the bottom level of the top 1%, right? These guys make the least amount of money of the top 0.1% and then make 8 times that, right? I misspelled calculator right here. Modern CEOs get paid about 16.4 times more than what a CEO did in 1965 in comparison to their mid-level employees. This is insane. This is absolutely insane. If we were to drop it down, again, we always talk about the top 1%, but then people start talking about the top 0.1%, and these guys fucking multiply that by 8. We could very easily increase the minimum wage from these companies if we could get these guys to be a little bit less greedy. But here's the problem. People start saying tax the rich and eat the rich and all that other stuff. They'll just leave the US. They're multi-millionaires. And so they can just leave the US and go to like another fucking country that wouldn't have as stringent and restrictive taxes. That's not an option. And these were basically all my talking points. Then here's the really crazy part, right? Because this is where we're fucked. All right, I'll go right here to get a map of the globe. Just go in maps, right? You can just zoom out. What is this? Right, and then I'm gonna grab a US military budget. $877 billion US dollars. Okay. Then we're going to look at US GDP. Enter. So, 23.32 trillion USD as of 2021. All right, we're going to grab another calculator. And then we're going to go military budget in 2022, 877 billion. So we're going to give it a good old 877 divided by 23.32. So that's going to be in the billions, just like 23,320. 23,320. That is a 3.7% of our GDP. Oh, 3.8% of our GDP goes towards the military. Now we look at minimum NATO. Oh, sorry. In 2006, NATO, whatever, they require a minimum of 2% of their gross domestic product, the GDP, to defense spending to continue to ensure the alliance's military readiness. Now, if we look up how many countries meet NATO's military requirements, and yeah, meet NATO military requirements. Let's see. Let's go here. Let's see if we can find it. NATO guideline 2%. All right, this is. Let's see if I can zoom in this in. Open image in new tab. Can I do that? No, it just sucks. All right, well, I apologize. I can't really zoom in, but look at how many people don't meet it. The only country that outspends us is Greece. I didn't know it'd give us the percentages. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done this. But yeah, 3.8 as of 2022. So this is 2015. No, 2022 is in blue. Prices and exchange rates. All right. Well, obviously there's a little bit of disconnect. I did round some things, right? But almost 3.5% of this minimum requirement after Romania. Well, technically Romania doesn't even meet it. After Slovak Republic, Romania and France and North Macedonia and Montenegro and Bulgaria and Netherlands, all these guys don't meet the minimum requirements. You know, Italy, freaking Germany, pretty big names, freaking Turkey, Belgium, Canada. Like, let's see, can we find? Luckily, the UK meets it, right? Freaking, they're French across the pond, but no one's meeting it. And keep in mind, this is a percentage of GDP. Now we go right over here. This is a really fucking big number, right? The UK's GDP is about 4 trillion, if I remember correctly. And so 877 billion means that we're covering up for all these guys because of this guideline. That's one thing. Now we go over here. We got Taiwan. And we got Japan, and we got the freaking South China Sea, and we got a whole bunch of armies and stuff kind of closing in on South China Sea. The reason why we gave Australia nuclear subs is because they're right here, and China's like kind of nearby. But we got a whole bunch of things boated up, whole bunch of boats and submarines all along this area. And China's really freaking putting a whole bunch of shit right along this area. And so Taiwan is a place that we want to defend. We have stated that we want to defend it. And so we're about ready to go to war here. We drop our fucking military spending, right? Which would greatly help. Again. No, that's that. There we go. 877 billion. Fucking almost 4%, right? We go back to right here. With this at 8%, we're not going to drop it by 4, of course, but we could get a pretty decent amount. We'd have a lot of funds to work with and a lot to reduce. We could get it to probably about 6 almost instantaneously. Maybe a bit closer to 7, but we could still drop it by a whole fucking percentage. Keep in mind, these percentages are fucking huge. Because 1% can control a billions, hundreds of billions of dollars within our economy. Right? Our military expenditure is 4%. Here you see all these things, the F-22 Raptor, the F-35 Lightning, the fucking A-10 Warthog, all these things. People complain about the military budget. This is 4%, right? It won't let me do it. 4%, 3.7607201, no, 0.411%. A little over a quarter of this. Sways this greatly down to right there. Immediately. And that is something that must not be overlooked. But we're right there, and obviously we got a whole bunch of folks over in Ukraine and Russia, and they're all fighting like right along right here. Now, for those of you who don't know the maps, remember a few months back whenever the Wagner Group went back to Moscow to fuck with Putin before the guy at the head died, and they came right back over here to kill more Ukrainians? They basically took one of these road routes, right? Because these are major highways. And so they basically took it right back. There's a whole bunch of pictures online circulating about that. That was probably using this road or this one, right? These are two big ones. All the way back to Moscow before the head guy got killed. And then they freaking submitted and they went right back to the border. And now they're fighting again. We're putting a lot of guys right here. And let's see if I can find Poland. Poland is gearing up right now. And Japan has been a huge buyer of our F-35s. And India's doing it a little bit. A whole lot of these guys are, though. We're Sweden. Sweden has been buying a lot of our stuff, too. Sweden, an almost eternally neutral country, is going staunchly anti-Russia. And so they're gearing up a shitload, and Finland's kind of following in kind. And so we can't drop our military expenditure. We're also right on over here. We got a couple of our carrier groups over in here, right? And that's mainly because of the whole Israel fucking Gaza Strip, all this other stuff. They're all having a whole bunch of fights. And basically the way that I've heard about it is that it's a couple things. But basically the Suez Canal, right? This is the #1 most important traffic way in the world. Because it connects traffic between all of Europe, which is an economic powerhouse, more powerful. All of Europe is more powerful than the US in terms of an economic powerhouse. Now, the US is fucking huge, and we do beat them out in terms of actual fucking consumerism and a few other things. But if we're talking about economic powerhouse, Europe is in its entirety does beat out the US. And keep in mind that Russia might be huge right here, right? All their guys, fucking something like 80% of the people in Russia live right here. Look at the road networks. It gets all spread out over here because there's not nearly as many. It's all over here. So all these guys use the Black Sea, the Mediterranean, the Tyrrhenian Sea. I'm pretty sure that they used to have a different name, but they all funnel in through here. They don't want to go around. And something like Russia, they would have to go out through here and all the way around, then through there, and then all the way around. Or they go by land, and this is all a frozen wasteland. And so, they generally find it easier to go through here, go through that, go through here, and kind of just go around through here. This is also why we have severe piracy problems around these areas, and this is why whenever we say the US is the police of the world, we basically kind of moderate these areas, moderate the entirety of the South China Sea where these guys would be coming in. If they say they're catching them in the Atlantic Ocean, it's usually along these areas. Or obviously near our own. The second most popular, I'm sure you know, is the Panama Canal, but that's just for us, so we can move our fleets in the Atlantic over the Pacific and Pacific over the Atlantic. Otherwise, they're going to go around South America. Ugh. Sorry about that, a little bit drowsy. And so, the whole entirety of why everyone cares about this Israel conflict is because they realize they got a few waterways through here. They could bomb out an area through the Gaza Strip, kind of following along this vague waterway. This map is not the best, but you can basically bring it down and you can have a competitor with the Suez Canal. Instead of having a competitor, I'd be like, yeah, sure, that's great, but here's the problem. People live here. And so they're basically forcibly moving people, which is kind of fucked up. And so then that's why Israel, was it Israel? I think it was Israel, was the one who got the 10,000 rockets sent to them. It's all fucked, right? Whenever you're making a competitor to the Suez Canal, the most important waterway in the world, and it's also in Jerusalem, the most important location in the world whenever it comes to most religious texts, you get a lot of people to care. Honestly, you could try to care, but you don't have to. Because here's the thing. This conflict goes back like 2,000 years. Shit, dude. Remember whenever they did Jerusalem and the Crusades? That was... the Vatican is in one of these countries, I think. Or it's in Italy. I think it's in Italy. I don't remember. No, was it in France? I don't remember, because it's technically a separate country. And it's all kind of funky. But basically, operating somewhere over here, said, hey guys, let's go take back the Holy Land, and sent something like 13 crusades right at Israel. All these places have been fighting over Israel. Right after World War II, they divided it up like this in the funky little shapes, and it's just fucked. No matter what, this conflict is fucked, and all you gotta do is go back in time to start blaming the other side, and then go back in time to blame another side, and it's... modern context holds very little power here because of how long these guys have been fighting. The only way for this conflict to stop is for one side to die. And it sucks. I hate to say that, but we've stopped them from fighting before, and it's only perpetuated. I'm not saying that fucking killing everyone in the Gaza Strip is the way to go. I'm not saying that. I'm saying it's probably best to try not to care. Because if you start caring, it just becomes a hot mess. And you gotta either know everything there is to know about Israel and Jerusalem and the Holy Land, or you can give up, man. Because this is like... the history of this place is literally like the history of most religions, and that, like, most widespread religions. Whenever you talk about Muslims and Christianity and a whole bunch of other places, that is here. This is the Holy Land. So it's just a hot mess, man. But we're also right here. We also have 2 carrier groups of our 11, right? Just kind of in this general area, parked right here. And so we're threatening Russia, fucking around over here. We're fucking around right here. And we're really fucking around right here. If we were to drop... and then we're also selling to here. We're selling to here. We're selling to a bunch of these guys. Selling pretty big to them. And so if we were to drop our our freaking military budget, that means we got to start pulling out somewhere. Honestly, we can pull out here. We can, right? We honestly can, because either you say that you're against all this violence, in which case, yeah, good luck. Try to fucking solve peace. We've already tried. We have spent billions of dollars. We have fucking helped co-developed the Iron Dome with let's see, where are they? I'm about 90% sure. Alright, I have no idea where Iran is. Oh, Iran. We co-developed the Iron Dome with Iran. I think it was Iran. And gave it to a bunch of other people. This is why Israel was able to block 1,000 of the 10,000 unguided rockets that were aimed at... Was it Iran? I don't know, just look up the 10,000 rocket thing. It might have been Iran. No, I don't want that. Crap. Yeah, man, my mind's not functioning all that well right now, because they're right there. I don't know why they would. I don't know, man. Again, I don't know. But basically, the Iron Dome is all we realistically care about, militaristically speaking. Otherwise, it's religious pretexts and building a competitor to Suez Canal. I am pro building competitor to Suez Canal. Don't fucking kill people for it. That's fucked up. Fucking bold statements only on this channel. But yeah, so we can't. And then China's also been gearing up, right? They've been improving their military. They do have a 5th gen fighter, that being, crap, I forgot what it's called, but it's even better than Russia's Su-57. It's not as good as the F-22, but there's a reason why Xi Jinping recently visited California. And Xi Jinping recently visited San Francisco because Biden, San Francisco, because both Biden over in the White House, right around here, because it's between those two, and Xi Jinping agreed that tensions between our two countries are getting way too high, and they want to drop it a bit. There's a YouTuber called Atrioc. He actually covered it pretty good. But yeah, so some of those talks. China also agreed to stop slow down production of fentanyl in China, because if you don't know, a lot of our fentanyl comes from China, about 90%, and then they just fucking bring it all over to San Francisco. But yeah, so we expanded a bit beyond my topics. Again, this is what I had. So I was supposed to stop right about here. Right? Like right here. But this is basically my whole point whenever it comes to LTAE, or let's talk about economics. This is a situation that our country is in, where we are teetering on an edge in terms of our inflation rates, international debt, and our where is it? And our defense expenditure. It's fucked. Because we need these guys to start pulling their own weight or to kick them out. Simply put. I know it's such to say. Fucking, I like Spain. I like Canada. They're pretty cool. Germany, they've been letting me down with their position in nuclear reactors, but otherwise they're pretty cool. They make cool cars. Italy, again, they're pretty cool. I don't know about many of these guys, right? But like France is really cool. They're pro-nuclear reactor. You look at some of the riots, it gives me a lot of how America wishes it was kind of energy whenever it comes to the peoples and their positions on the governments and them fighting for their own freedom. really fucking cool. They're not meeting that bar. They've got to meet that bar. You know, all these guys do. 'Cause we're pulling that weight. Again, Greece's GDP is fucking tiny. $214.9, so 215 billion USD. And then you compare that to 23 trillion. We have literally 100 times their GDP. These are just percentages. This is why the United States can only have really about 1.5% above the guideline, but we're picking up the weight of all these guys. We are an economic powerhouse, and luckily, you look at these blue lines. Most of them are going up. Turkey, kind of looking at you, man. Come on, and pick up the fucking slack. But most of these are going up, and that does make me happy to see. And ours is going down. And I was talking with stepdad about it. He's a lot more knowledgeable about this stuff. We are going to probably slowly turn back against it because we expend so much money towards the military that this is why we probably don't have universal health care or a UBI and other such things. And we could also start talking about how wages really started dropping whenever women entered the workforce because the number of people in the workforce doubled, which means that they could make the wages half. And, well, if we're going to make them half, we can just push a little bit more, then a little bit more. You have that continue over several decades, and you get a graph that looks like this, right? Go over to graph. Yeah, you get graphs that look like this. Remember, this bit here on is the same as this. This is just more closely focused. But yeah. And so it's fucked. I think that a UBI could really help whenever it comes to wages because it gives you an optional take on it. I think that it'd be great if we could start having less than 2 incomes per household, right? If we could have a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad and actually support their family, I think that'd be great. You know, you look at the average prices for the houses last 30 years. St. Louis Federal.org, Statista. All right, let's check out St. Louis Federal. It's an organization, but average sales price of houses sold for the United States. And look at 1965, right? A lot of these boomers. Let's look at 1980. That's when my mom was born. Average house was 73 grand, 73.6 grand. Look at it, right? That was right about the housing boom. The average house is 552 grand, right? You look at the inflation rates. Sure, this is 2020, right? This is recently. It's been spiking. But you look at the houses. That's also in 2020. Quarter 4, 2022. This is rather recently. They're like, it's hard to say, but like, all right, no, we can actually do this. We can do this, right? It was at 0.12. This is as close to zero as we're gonna get in 2015 for inflation, all the way up to 8. So let's actually find as close to 1. Or we can do 2. 2.07. 2.3. All right, so 2.07 2012. So it's 2. 8. That's a 4 times multiplier, right? So go to 2012. Q2. Let's do Q2, Q3. So looking at about 300,000. All the way up to 550 grand. Luckily, houses have not followed the rate of inflation to an exact amount. That does not mean it's good. Houses realistically shouldn't be following our inflation rates because you look at the average and the 33. In 2022 is 36. Oh, so 33 and 21. Alright, so I guess this is supposed to be 2023. So luckily there's been a little bit of healing, right? 2023 has actually been a pretty good year. We're at like fucking 7% or 6%, if I remember correctly. Again, you look up the YouTube channel Atrioc. This guy. He does a lot of gaming content and stuff. That's not really what matters. What matters is about every now and then he will make a video like this. This one's talking about the economics of Apple's freaking blue text bubbles, right? But this one was one. And again, not all of them, but you can kind of search through them. You go to this one. And you look at the ones like, obviously he does some that are a lot more funny, but like he talks about a lot of economic crap. And top 7 companies in the S&P 500 make up like literally fucking 95% of the value. That's these guys. And so again, a game thing, don't care about that. A game thing, you might not care about that. But he, let's see. These are all memes. This one is about SBF, and basically, every now and then he does an economically framed one. And this guy used to be like head of marketing at Twitch. So this guy knows his shit. Right, he talked about the writer's strike and what that might mean. He talks about a lot of stuff. He's gonna be able to go into this stuff far better than I can. He's gonna do it a lot better edited. He has his own editors. He talks about the tipping in the US. China's debt crisis. Again, you kind of got to search through him because he does make a little bit of slop content too. But that's fine. It was... this is Twitter rebranding as X. It's all fucking good. He makes some really good shit. Especially the non-slop stuff. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of his slop. But he really does look into this shit. And I'm not gonna show his channel on mine just because I don't know his take on all that stuff. But seriously, you want to learn more about marketing and stuff? Look up Atrioc. This guy knows his fucking shit. And because marketing has a lot to do with the economy, he will also help update you on the economy and stuff too. But you know, so that's the end of this little let's talk about economics bit. Obviously, if you're European, a lot of this might pertain to you, but maybe not 100% of it. I don't know about the situation in like the UK or anything. But yeah. This is why this shit is bad. I'll talk to you guys again later. Happy holidays. I hope you've enjoyed your holidays as much as I have somewhat enjoyed mine. And goodbye. I'm going to upload this to YouTube now.